The Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game is one of the most strategic, intensely gratifying card games out there, rewarding players with innovative deck building, shrewd technical play, and boundless game knowledge. However, new and aspiring players still face arguably the biggest barrier to entry for competitive play, the extremely steep price points for the most powerful cards available. But what if we tried to remove that barrier? In this series, we're going to be maximizing the value of every penny at our disposal to see how well we can perform on a constrained budget. Each season, we'll be investing a baseline of $50 USD into an affordable deck core comprised of the most cost-effective singles on TCG player. For just an additional $10 per week, we'll continually expand on that core, transforming our build into the most competitive deck possible. Welcome to Rise of the Budget Duelist. Alrighty everybody, welcome back to the series. We are in week number 3 here, and I'm super excited to announce the fact that we are finally going to be able to play at physical locals for the first time in the series, and hopefully in many more episodes to come. So yeah, that's really exciting news for me personally, because obviously since quarantine started about a year and a half ago, none of us have really been able to play at physical locals too much during that time, and for me especially, I haven't really been able to get out too much, but finally we're actually going to be able to get back to some semblance of normalcy, which is great. But also for you guys at home for the series watching, hopefully this will be a nice bit of change for you guys, since obviously it can get a bit tiresome to look at a dueling book screen all the time. So this will be a nice change of pace, I hope, and I think you guys will enjoy that very much. But before we hop into the matches for week number 3 here, gotta of course kind of recap what happened last episode and make some changes accordingly. So we went 2-2 at our last remote duel locals, so not too shabby, definitely an improvement from week 1 where we went, I believe, 1 win, 2 draws, and 1 loss. So making slow and steady improvements as we should with the series, that's the entire goal. But nevertheless, there are still some things that I highlighted at the end of the previous episode that we should be covering and addressing. So the first thing is the fact that Vanity's Fiend really just wasn't doing it. It really did not lock down our opponents as effectively as we thought, simply because so many decks have native outs, whether it be in-engine, things like Diviner of the Herald sending Entis, or if people are just running generic cards like Imperm and Droplet. That card really just doesn't cut it anymore. It's not 2014 or 2017 even. And the metagame's just gotten far too fast for us to just sit in a floodgate monster and hope that we get there, because we really just can't play our BA engine at all during the time that Vanity's Fiend is online. So it doesn't really help get access to a very fast win condition, which I think this deck definitely needs, even though it is a trap deck. But that being said, we do want to be, of course, improving the trap lineup to help us also get to our win condition a bit faster. So we're going to try and optimize that in the process. And the third and final thing is to, of course, try and tailor our side deck a bit more to the expected metagame. Since we're going to be playing at locals this week, we should have a fair understanding of what decks we're going to be playing against, or what could be a possibility at the very least. And even though the ban list is right around the horizon, we should be able to kind of make a more targeted side deck, which should be a lot better in terms of orienting our deck towards competitive play. I should mention that by the time you guys are seeing this, it will already be July, so the ban list will have well been in effect. But as of me recording this video, obviously we're going to be playing still under the old ban list for locals. So definitely just be sure to keep that in mind if you were wondering why I'm not main decking or side decking too much hate for the impending Sky Striker return. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the changes to the main deck first. So there's not really too much to discuss here apart from just trying to improve the traps we already have. So I think the first big step is to play 3 copies of Paleozoic Dynamiscus. Now, as a portion of our weekly $10 budget, this card's actually fairly expensive when you think about it, but this is definitely well worth the investment. This card is super good, has great removal, banishes, obviously, triggers our BAs, and things in our side deck also can work with it. Stuff like Shaddoll Dragon, which we included last week, can definitely be helped out by having this card available, since of course this card does not discard for cost. And additionally, having the extra body on field via its graveyard effect will allow us to help with our link climbing pushes, since when we go for a tour guide play a lot of the time, we'll be protecting our BAs from destroying themselves via Carabini anyways. And you can see that a lot of the time with the Beatrice being on board as is. So I think just having the additional aggressive capabilities as well will make this a very solid inclusion. And honestly, as long as we stick with Trap BA, I don't think this card is actually going to be moving from our build, so that's quite nice. And then next up is going to be the card that's eluded us for quite some time now, but we're finally going to add in the 3rd copy of Torrential Tribute. This card is really, really good. I'm not sure if this is the best format for it right now, or at least if it will be in the upcoming format. But that being said, this card is too high impact of a trap to pass up, synergizes with BA nicely just to help them float more. And realistically, if our opponents don't respect it, or if they don't play around it and they lose to it, then this will be a nice blowout trap. So those are the only 4 changes we're going to make to the main deck. We have some minor changes to the side deck, which we'll talk about as well. But to accommodate for these changes, we're actually going to be swapping out our playset of Lost Wind into the side deck, or at least 2 of them are going to go to the side deck. The third one will be just dropped completely from the list. So this card actually has been the least impressive trap of the bunch for me, which is kind of surprising because I thought that I'd cut Breakthrough Skill first, which, I mean, maybe you guys did too. But yeah, Breakthrough Skill has actually been putting in a fair amount of work. Just the fact that it is a more flexible card to utilize its graveyard utility effect. I'm talking about things like negating Herald of Ultimateness or negating Window on your own turn. Like, those are things that I think are a lot more controllable than Lost Wind, since your opponent can somewhat play around Lost Wind's graveyard effect. But a Breakthrough Skill definitely is just one that will always be available to you, whether you just activated it previously or milled it to the graveyard. And that graveyard utility, honestly, is something that Lost Wind can't match. Like, Ultimatus can just stop the second activation of Lost Wind, but it can't really do too much against Breakthrough Skill and Grave. So I think those kind of niche applications set Breakthrough Skill apart in this build specifically. So we're actually going to be testing out some more Breakthrough Skill, and that's something I never thought I'd say, but here we are. But as well, we have to cut one more card, so we're going to go and cut 1 copy of Phoenix Wing Windblast. This is simply to reduce the amount of discard traps we have, because I don't want to play too many and rely on having so many cards in our hand that we just, can't maintain hand size. So I think this is one of the ones that has to go. Interestingly, I actually don't think we need to go for Karma Cut anytime soon, if at all, just because this card has been doing quite well, and there's a fair amount of back row at my locals anyways, which Karma Cut cannot hit. So I actually think this card is fairly decent as an inclusion, helps out things like Mystic Mind and stuff. So I think this card is a fair enough choice. So we're going to go ahead and move on into the cards that we're actually going to cut from the list in the side deck. So I mentioned that 2 of the copies of Lost Wind are going to go to the side, and that's because we are dropping the playset of Vandy's Fiend. I think you guys probably saw this one coming because I pretty much said that was going to happen. This card really just isn't putting in the work that I thought it would, which is fine. You kind of just have to test and live with your choices sometimes, but it was a really cheap card as far as the budget was concerned anyways, so I'm not really too distressed about it. And the other thing that we have to consider is the fact that now that we have 1 extra space in the side deck, I actually do want to make 1 additional change, and that is the fact that we're actually going to play 1 copy of Nail Shaddoll Aerial. So this card is a card that I've been actually testing out in regular BA builds, and I think is a super cool inclusion, because this card is great against certain matchups, like, for example, Tri-Brigade, Eldlich, Drytron, Dinosaur, hits a lot of different decks, so it's a great card to send out Beatrice. And additionally, with the added utility of having Dynamiscus in the deck now, this card is not as horrible to draw because you can still proc its graveyard effect via things like the Dynamiscus, which of course is still tutorable via Backjack. And once we eventually get Trap Trick as well, which is something that you guys should keep your eye out for. But yeah, those are going to be the changes. So really not that many changes overall. So let's go ahead and run through the list again, just as a refresher. Alrighty, so quickly recapping the main deck here, we got 3 copies of Tour Guide, we got 3 copies of Fiendish Rhino Warrior, we got 3 Graph, we got 3 copies of Skarm, we got 3 copies of everyone's favorite YouTuber Farfa, we got 2 Seer, we got Alec, Barbar, Hcabe, Libic, Backjack, and Foolish Burial. For the traps, we're on 3 Fiend Griefing, 3 Compulse, the 3 Torrential Tribute, 3 copies of Dynamiscus, we got 2 Phoenix Wing Windblast, and we got 3 copies of Breakthrough Skill. The extra deck is 2 Dante, 1 Beatrice, 1 Breaksword, Equipped Engineer, Virtual World Shell Jaja, Acid Golem of Destruction, Purple Dante, Gravity Controller, Carabini, Geonator Transverser, Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Unicorn, Zero Boros, and the Borosword Dragon. And rounding it out for our newly adjusted side deck, we got 3 copies of Lava Golem, we got Pankratops, our 2 Shadolls in a Dragon and Aerial. We have 3 copies of Forbidden Chalice, 3 copies of Heavy Storm Duster, 2 Lost Wind, and the 1 of Imperial Order. So you'll notice actually that right here I actually have double sleeves right now, which I finally got around to doing. I forgot that actually Konami changed their policies and we are now allowed to double sleeve, which is something that I didn't do in the previous videos since I was kind of just remote dueling, right? So this is actually something that I have a question for you guys. So let me know in the comments, by the way, if you guys do double sleeving one particular way or the other. So you'll notice that these are actually sleeved differently. So on one hand, I have it so that the artwork is facing the right direction, but the bottom is kind of opened for the double sleeve, the bigger sleeve. I'm not sure if you can see that. You should be able to right here. But the other way is where I normally would like the orientation in terms of just having the opening of the sleeve on top right here, but the artwork is upside down. So let me know which way you guys do it at home, because this is kind of irritating me. I would like to have both of them face the right direction, at least for my preferences. But yeah, if you guys make accommodations or do something different, please do let me know. And also, speaking of sleeves, you guys also might notice that we actually have put our entire main deck into the lovely penguin sleeves. if you guys do want custom sleeves, definitely go ahead and check out Your Playmat. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. They make awesome custom playmats as well as sleeves for you guys, such as this one. You can even submit your own designs, so you can feel free to be creative. If you use double sleeves like I am right here, they will definitely last a lot longer. However, they are high quality as is, so if you don't want to go out of your way to go in double sleeve, then you by no means have to. These are super solid. I'm very happy with the way they turned out, and they are really great to be able to just show off your personal flair, which I think Yu-Gi-Oh players always want to be doing. So as always, guys, if you do want to go ahead and help support me, feel free to use the Your Playmat link in the description box below, or use my promo code Emanon10YP to get 10% off of your order. And also, if you want to help support the channel via buying cards themselves, then you can go ahead and use my TCG Player affiliate link, which you can also find in the description as well. So if you guys really are fans of the series, those would help me out greatly. But let's go ahead and just go over some matches. All right, everybody. For the first time in this series, we're finally going to be commentating over some physical real-life matches. And can I just say, even watching this back, just seeing physical real-life cards being shuffled and cut and everything is so refreshing. But especially playing again after a year and a half, man, it was such a great experience. I really did miss it. I know not everyone else's locals is back up yet, which is unfortunate, but hopefully we'll have some semblance of normalcy for everybody in the not too distant future. But this is round 2 of locals right here. We're up against a good friend, Nick, who you actually saw on the channel the other day. So go ahead and subscribe to his YouTube channel. He just started it up recently. I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. But yeah, he's on a zombie Eldlich right here, which is a pretty interesting build. Definitely a more fun one for sure. But I mean, of course it is locals, right? I mean, we're also not playing the most high-tier competitive deck, but the point is to be able to play against all sorts of decks, because you will come across, meta and rogue at like your different locals and regionals, all that good stuff. I also should say that we are currently 1-0 going into this round, but again, we're only just going to showcase off the best rounds. But you saw there that he went Curse Eldon to search a Conquistador. He set a couple cards, activated Zombie World, and passed. We have 6 monsters in our hand actually going second right here, which is definitely not ideal, but it is enough actually going second to kind of help push through interruptions. So we go for a Dante play after summoning Barbar and I think Farfa there, but he goes for the Conquistador Scarlet just to pop our Dante, which is obviously not that big of a deal because we do get some resources back in terms of just getting the Farfa to hand, and we have plenty of BAs to still play, so we just special out Hcabe, and we actually have our Rhino Warrior in hand as well, which is why I went ahead and just specialed everything. I wanted to just get this Rhino. Now, what I could have done here, actually I think what I should have done was I should have just gone for a Zero-Boros play. I could have easily gone into Carabini and then just link climbed with, Graf as well as Seer and Libic to be able to just go into Zero-Boros and wipe the entire board, like just banish all of his resources. Because banishing Eldritch cards, like if you look at this board, right, banishing all of that would have been very crazy. Would have been so much value. The problem was that because, again, I didn't have any traps in my hand, I felt a little bit defenseless, and my mindset in the moment was I could go for Zero-Boros, but I also really just wanted to end on Beatrice. I think looking back on this footage, I kind of just rewatched everything before I started, to commentate right here. But I think the Zero-Boros play would have been better, for sure, just because this game can definitely get grindy for sure. Like, these are 2 decks very much known for their grind. And if he had only 2 cards left in his hand with like a lot of his Eldritch stuff banished, it would have just been the Scarlet and Grave, which would have taken a while to get back into the Eldritch stuff. We would have been sitting in a pretty fine position to go into Beatrice the turn afterward, and it wouldn't have been too bad that we would have had like not too much on our end board, simply because of the fact that Eldritch is not really known for its ability to OTK. Hopefully you guys did not hear that, but we're going to carry on here. We do go and summon out Dante instead. We go and I think we milled a Scarm there after detaching Rhino, which got us the Graph into Seer. So we're just going to try and go for several plays after I think we clear the Conquistador in battle phase right here. But yeah, we're going to just try and clear whatever board we can and still end on Beatrice. Because like, again, I was just so fixated on ending on her just to get an interruption going and maybe to just get access to traps via backjack, because I really was just not comfortable with the fact that my hand is right here 3 monsters. So I go Phoenix. I actually pitch the Farfa, and then I go and use the effect to pop the Curse Eldon, as a matter of fact. Which might seem a little bit weird because, yeah, it gets this Graveyard effect, which gets more Eldritch cards, but he can send off his Curse Eldon at any time anyways, so it's not like he isn't able to get, those cards that he wanted to. Plus, the Curse Eldon sitting on field would just double the rate at which he could just get access to his, his Eldritch engine. Like, it would just accelerate it even more. So I figured that just cutting it off right here would be fine. I wasn't as worried about Super Poly at this stage of the game, just because, like, if he had it, he had it, right? Like I was worried about the cards he was guaranteed to get access to. But he's gonna walk here at the end phase for Scarlet, while I go for Seer, bring back Dante, and then go Beatrice and trigger the Scar for Tourguide in the end phase. My management of Seer was pretty poor here. I'm pretty sure I had another BA to pitch. I know I pitched the Farfa that added back off the first Dante for the Nightmare Phoenix, so that wasn't a play, but I'm pretty sure if I had another BA, I could have very easily gotten rid of it. But I also do think that I had a second copy of Seer in hand as well. So maybe I think I felt safe that I would just not run out of Seers, but eventually I do, which you'll see, and that definitely causes problems for me. So he does actually go for an almost summon a Glow Bloom, so obviously he's on the zombie package. You saw Zombie World already turn 1, so I mean that was pretty obvious. But yeah, we do have to answer this, and I could go for the very obvious Beatrice send Farfa to just banish it, but I want to see how far I can get and how much mileage I can get. So I actually opt to send Backjack instead. This is definitely a risky play, but if I hit a Dynamiscus or a Wing Blast, I think I'm in a better position here because I can clear more cards. And if not, if my Backjack reveals and excavates either Farfa directly or Rhino to send it or Graph to summon it and it blows itself up, those are all ways I would get Farfa off of Beatrice, so to speak, anyways, just in a really roundabout fashion. So I was willing to take the risk to try and get like a really high impact trap, being Dynamiscus or Wing Blast. Since I did have a Farfa in my hand, I'm pretty sure I had I remember now I had multiple Farfa, so yeah, I definitely could have done it that way. I could have actually just pitched a Farfa for Beatrice now that I think about it, but regardless, none of that happens. We hit Compulse instead, so we Compulse the Glow Bloom back to his hand right here. So he's just going to be using the Scarlet to get more access to Golden Land traps, and he actually is playing the counter trap, the Golden Land Forever, which you see him set right here. So when they set that, and if they're even on it, but if they do set it, then they have like everything they really need and could ever want. So that's not good news for us. But yeah, I think that the play with Batjack was fine. It was a bit of a risk, but it was a calculated one at that. Ultimately, I did get to clear the bloom, so it was okay. But the real issue right here is just the Eldlich engine, because it's so hard to actually outgrind it. Actually, I think you saw right there, you tried to activate a Scarlet on field after using its Grave Effect, but we catch that one. So here he's just going to go into the battle phase, I do believe. He's just going to clear my Nightmare Phoenix. Yeah, so I'm kind of just sitting on Beatrice and hoping that it's going to be good enough. I do have Tourguide in hand, but now that he has Golden Land Forever, it's a little bit hard for me to commit it to the board without it just, being immediately answered. So I'm trying to find ways to really just counteract that. He does go for the Conquistador in the end phase, which sets a copy of the White Destiny to his board. So I know that his sets are White Destiny, Scarlet, and the Counter Trap. I don't know that one in the middle, the one directly underneath the field center. So that's like the only unknown for me. I'm just assuming that there's not really a ton of hand traps in this deck. And we know that Bloom is in his hand as well. So we draw for turn, and I just want to play around the counter trap as best as possible. So I actually opt to switch Beatrice to attack position, and I just crash it into Golden Lord right here. And that's good news for me because I do get to trigger the Beatrice effect, which gets me to Purple Dante, and this card is pretty good at just cycling through cards. Really what I'm trying to do now is that because I open so many monsters, I really just want to dig for traps, and I think the traps will help me kind of clear the Eldritch stuff, namely stuff like Dynamiscus especially. Like those will be really valuable. However, in battle phase, he still is able to bring back his Lord, which makes his counter trap live again. So right here, I'm gonna use the Purple Dante to try and actually bait it, because I would rather him actually clear the Purple Dante since it's not gonna stay around for much longer anyways. Since Conquistador is just such a clean out to it due to non-targeting. So I try and like maybe bait it right here, but he actually has Walkero in response, and because I pitched the Seer, he gets actually DD Crow out of it. It's out of the graveyard, and it's similar to like Ben 10, where because Seer is no longer in the proper location to trigger, it just misses the window, so it can't activate. And that is definitely really unfortunate because there is kind of the management of Seer that I was talking about earlier, where now I just really don't have a lot of access to it, and that really, really hurts my grind a lot. So the only way to really get that back is if I want to go into Dante, but I'm pretty sure I already went through both my Dantes, so I don't really have a great way to actually get back into that recursive loop. So that is definitely bad news for us. We go into Equipped Engineer. I decided to do this instead of committing Tour Guide because again, I don't think I have enough BAs in hand, if I remember correctly. Or maybe I did. I can't remember exactly what my hand is right here. But I didn't want to lose to Golden Land Forever. But I also wanted to have Engineer have like a really good card underneath it in the Fiendish Rhino Warrior because like that serves an interruption for sure. So in the end phase here, after I set a background pass, he is going to go for the Solitaire off Scarlet. And I actually low-key forgot that he was able to do that with his engine because he already had Lord online. Not that really matters because I couldn't do much about it on my turn anyways. But it does force me to think during his standby phase. And I do actually have a couple of options here. Of course, one of them being the Engineer. But I also do have my set card, which turns out to be a breakthrough skill. And I do decide to use it in standby phase here just so that, it just can't resolve without being negated. So like that's fine. I just want to prevent his zombie engine from like really taking off because I don't have a lot of great tools right now to do with the Eldlich cards, so that's kind of what I'm reserving my interruptions for at the moment. Here he goes for the normal summon of Bloom again, and I go for the Engineer, and I detach the Rhino, switching my Purple Dante to defense position, and I use Rhino to send far for to banish it. Now, something that you might notice here is actually I put Alec underneath this Engineer. I special summoned it to last turn. But you're about to see that actually was a pretty big mistake, and I should have kept it in hand because I actually do have another BA in hand now that I remember this part of the match. So he actually goes into everybody's favorite Link 2 play, which is just making Verite. And then I realize, oh, I don't have an answer to this because my Purple Dante here actually I can use just while I still have the availability to, and his Golden Land Forever is off. But you see I had a Scarm, right? If I put the Scarm underneath the equipped Engineer and I kept Alec in hand, I could have actually pitched the Alec off the Purple Dante and used it to negate the Verite Anaconda. But instead, I was kind of tunneled on, trying to use the Scarm effect no matter what. But I already had Tourguide in hand, so it didn't matter. Plus, if I had Scarm under the equipped Engineer and it got cleared, it would have done the same thing anyways. So it's really just me actually not being used to playing with Purple Dante online because for such a long time, right, everyone would do anything in their power to just not clear the Beatrice by destroying it. Like they would, mind control, take it, link it away. Back when that was at 3, like same with like Widow Anchor, they would Nightmare Unicorn spin it. People would do anything in their power to make sure Beatrice Grave Effect didn't resolve. So it's been a while since I've actually played with Purple Dante, just being successfully summoned and using it as not only an advantage generation resource, but also a way to actually interrupt your opponent. And that's something I definitely missed. So that was definitely a misplay as well. Out comes Dragoon. Luckily, he actually can't clear my Purple Dante due to Engineer's effect, which is a little bit funny. But now I have to contend with Dragoon, and I don't have a great way to answer it, especially when I know that he has Golden Land Forever, and he has, pretty much all that he could ever want with his Eldlich engine kind of just recurring itself. He has Scarlet set as well, just to turn on his Golden Land Forever at any point. And I am pretty much doomed here. I don't really have any good plays. I have Tourguide in hand, sure, and I'm gonna get a search with Scarm. But like this search right here, again, doesn't really matter because I already had the Tourguide, and like if I just had the Alec in hand instead, you just wouldn't have to be dealing with the Dragoon. Sure, it would be hard for me to contend with the Eldritch package still, just because I messed up the earlier turn when I didn't summon Zeroboros, which still was the bigger misplay, but all these misplays do add up. Now the Bloom comes back in the end phase thanks to the Farfa, and I am trying to claw my way back in. It's going to be a pretty uphill battle, and there's something actually funny happens on this turn actually. So I believe right here in the draw phase, I do use the Purple Dante. I spend a little time thinking. Also, let me know, by the way, speaking of which, if you have a preferred format of commentary. Right now, this is like 1.5 times speed for footage, and I'm just kind of commentating over it, and I make some small cuts. I make more cuts in the next match because there's more kind of just thinking going on there, less so in this match. But let me know if you would rather just me like not have anything cut and just like have it on 2 times speed, or do it like this, or just have it on like 1 time speed, but just cut everything that isn't like an actual gameplay move. But I do like having some of the downtime to talk, just to be able to walk through my plays a little bit and the reasoning instead of just doing purely play by play. But anyways, what happens here is I go draw phase, I pitch Graph off the Purple Dante, and he pitches a Doomkeen Baylor Draw to negate with Dragoon, and I'm like, oh, so he can just bring it back in standby phase now because I did that in draw phase. Yeah, like here I was just trying to, I don't know why I was waiting or not waiting until the main phase to do that. I could have easily done that. I didn't even consider the fact that they could have had hard drawn the Baylor Draw. But it is what it is. I mean, in the end, it didn't really make a big difference here because I did have the breakthrough skill engraved to negate it. But the issue is the Dragoon as well as the lingering Eldlich engine that I failed to deal with on turn 1. So those are the things that really are going to cost me the game right here. The only play I really have is like Tourguide, I'm pretty sure. And he has, the Scarlet right here to just have his Golden Land Forever turn on. So I go for the Tourguide. You change the Golden Land Forever to negate it, and we're going to pack up game 1 here because we can't really do anything. So game 1 goes over to him. Here we are, game 2 right here, and we do decide to go first, obviously, because that's what our deck is designed to do. We have a pretty good balance of traps and monsters, which is nice to see. That's always like a good ratio. It's like 2 traps, 3 monsters. Or if like you draw really well, you can, like the right combination of monsters, you can have like 3 traps and 2 monsters and be fine. Here I go for a high value Beatrice, keeping the Rhino attached underneath it. I think what I should be doing, actually, instead of doing it like this, is that in hands where I draw like Rhino, Graph, BA, I should probably just be specialing the Graph, and then I should just pitch the BA, because like this way, yeah, I do get a Scarm search the way I'm doing it right here, by like summoning Graph off of, or summoning Scarm off Graph, and then letting it die, and then getting Tour Guide in the end phase. But that does play into Nibiru really, really hard when I don't have to. So I could just like forego that and then do that whole play on my opponent's turn and get like the Scarm search there. Like it's possible for me to get 2 Scarm searches, like one on my turn and one on his, but I don't think it's worth the risk of just playing into Nibiru and losing all those interruptions, especially on a high value Beatrice. Like that really hurts. But yeah, he's gonna know some of the Uni Zombie here, and I could have easily just breakthrough skilled it because I do have that set. But I actually decide to hold off on it because I just want to see what he does, because he declares that he's using the hand effect, and it doesn't occur to me the fact that, oh yeah, like that can just get rid of the Eldlich cards. I didn't think about that too much. I just kind of was like letting it go. I was a bit too greedy with the breakthrough skill. I could have just negated it entirely. But yeah, he gets to put his Lord into the graveyard, which ends up putting Guister into the graveyard. However, his hand's really monster heavy, so I didn't get punished too badly here when I definitely could have. But also, I think he forgot to use the Unizombie Sent from deck effect. He got the effects confused, I'm pretty sure. I think he thought that like it was a cost to pitch from hand at one point, and then like he would foolish from the deck after that. But yeah, the card has like 2 separate effects there, both of which will modulate in the process. But he goes to battle phase to try and clear my Beatrice. We go and send a copy of the Backjack off of the Beatrice, and then we send or detach Rhino, which sends a Farfa, so we can just clear the Lord and trigger the Backjack in the process. You have to be careful with the chain, by the way. If you are doing it that way, you'd have to do Backjack, Chain Link 1, Rhino Chain Link 2, so that you shuffle your deck and then you stack. You don't want to stack and then shuffle your deck and then have that be completely pointless if you can avoid it. But anyways, yeah, this is a pretty good position for us because he actually just ends up going to end phase directly and just sets a Scarlet and then just passes on that. And with my Tour Guide, I actually do have game. And this is like kind of one of the positions where, like, yeah, I definitely could have. It definitely was good that I got Tour Guide because I didn't end up getting it. I didn't end up searching it on my opponent's turn, but I could have done it instead of Backjack, realistically. It's just the fact that having a Tour Guide, like, on my turn makes it a little bit easier to navigate some disruptions on my opponent's turn, which is also fair. Kind of harkening back to that point of, like, do I play into Nibiru or not? Here I have a line for game, but I really just wanted to show off Aerial, I'm not going to lie. I really, really wanted to activate Aerial's effect, so I actually almost throw the game because of it. So you'll see what I mean. We go Tour Guide into a Graph, and then we summon out Kiribini here, and we're using Graph's effect. We're going to summon out a BA from our deck. And we have easy way into Boral Sword, and even though we know his set card is Sanguine, we could just Beatrice to send Farfa during the battle phase and banish it. And then just attack for game. But we don't do that because I, again, wanted to just resolve Aerial. I know it's not a good reason, but yeah, that I did want to just showcase that card off because I do think it's a pretty good inclusion in the deck. In scenarios besides this, but like just having it as a disruption on my opponent's turn is really, really valuable. Here we go and send a copy of Seer off of the Kiribini right there. And we're going to Seer bring back a BA. And again, this is just free Boral Sword right there. So that's pretty good. You can see I think we drew a Rhino for turn, so that's one way they stacked off of Backjack. I'm pretty sure we didn't hit any traps with Backjack during that excavation, which is, you know, unfortunate, but does happen. So yeah, you'll see we're going to go battle phase, we're going to clear the Lord, we're going to clear the Unizombie, and Boral Sword right now is on 4250 attack, so I should be able to just end the game right here, right? Because I could just Sword switch to defense, he flips up his Sanguine, I can Beatrice, I could like declare attack, like, and then use Beatrice and then send Farfa and then like Farfa to banish it. But yeah, that didn't happen. I just wanted to send Aerial. I really, really wanted to resolve it. You can kind of see the reaction there on Nick's end. It was pretty good. But yeah, there goes his entire graveyard, and those are actually both of his Golden Lords, by the way. So his Eldlich engine is now just completely off. And I'm feeling pretty good because we were able to add back off of Dante. We were able to add off a Scarm because we summoned it off of Graph. and we have both of our trap sets still and Beatrice, so we have 3 interruptions. And yeah, Super Poly, which actually like almost was enough for him to claw back into the game if I wasn't careful, which I definitely wasn't careful. But yeah, here I was kind of like just loose with my interruptions. I was like, yeah, I'll just compulse the bat to hand, and then he just reveals he has Super Poly, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a card. There goes my Boros Sword. Thankfully, it didn't matter ultimately. He goes for the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. He activates its effect, and I think he like activates Bloom, but he doesn't have any targets left. But yeah, I think like he like goes to check if he has any targets for his Bloom. I do have Breakthrough skill set, and I do eventually use it, or I do opt to use it in response to the Starving Venom as well. Just like he's making sure he has targets there, or if he had targets there, which he did not. And I used the Breakthrough skill to make sure the Starving Venom can't clear my Beatrice, and then he concedes because we just forfeit away. So yeah, a bit messy because I could have just won the game on the spot there, but I wanted to have fun with the aerial. So it's game 3. It's actually getting pretty close to time, but that ultimately ends up not being that much of a factor. He goes first. He normal summons Bloom, sets 2, and passes. And I'm like, all right, there's probably a Super Poly set because there's like not really much point for him to just normal summon Bloom and do nothing with it. So I summon my Rhino Warrior, which is an Earth monster, which is cool. And I go into battle phase. I clear it, which does get damage in. But I also have plays to make a main phase 2 just to make sure that I didn't lose to the Super Poly. So I go main phase 2, I special summon out Graph. The hand was a little bit awkward right here. I'm pretty sure those are my only BAs or monsters to work with. So I go ahead and I mill 3. I don't really hit anything that valuable, but luckily we do play Gravity Controller, which is good for situations like this, because we can go Rhino Descend Seer, and then we can Dante add back, and then we can Seer, bring back the Dante, and make Beatrice this way. So it's like the same as if you opened up Seer. The worst hand is if you open like Rhino plus Seer. That's where it gets really awkward. If you have like nothing else to work with it. But yeah, I set 3 traps and just go ahead and pass turn. I go ahead and Dynamiscus. I pitch another copy of Rhino. Yeah, it was like double Rhino Graph. He does have the Super Poly, which we figured that it was Super Poly. But it shouldn't really matter too much because like, even though my Dynamiscus doesn't get to banish anything, I still get to discard the Rhino because it's probably the effect actually. And then I just Rhino send Farfa. I Farfa away the Starving Venom. He goes to use Lord because I think he pitched it, but I was just gonna use Beatrice, and I'd follow up with like discard trap since I had Dante add back anyways. All right, so here we are in the next match right here. We're just gonna go straight into it. So this is round 3, and we're up against Shaddoll Invoked, as you're about to see. So yeah, if you're wondering why the camera perspective is different, by the way, it's because that first match was actually from Nick's perspective. He recorded it. Because right now I don't actually have a bird's eye view tripod set up yet, which is one I should definitely invest in. I just didn't really think about it for this series. So I'm just using my older tripod, which is a little bit at an angle right here. But hopefully it's not too disruptive. The only thing is that you can't really always see my graveyard, which definitely will be something that I'll fix and make sure that even if I don't get a new tripod for next episode, which I don't think I'll be able to in time, we'll still be able to kind of work around that, no problem. It still should be clear for the most part. But anyways, we win the roll, we go first, and we go make our Dante. We have to commit Tour Guide for it, which I'm never a big fan of, going for Tour Guide turn 1. But it's fine here. We go ahead and as long as it resolves, it's all right. So we go ahead and go for our Dante, Seer, and then we go for our good old Geonator Transverser. And then shoutouts to Thomas right here, who actually pulled a fresh super rare Geonator. So we were able to rarity swap right there, which is cool. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and Dante, Seer, and then go for Beatrice as well. And then we have 2 traps set to our back row. And I'm pretty sure we have like another Tour Guide in our hand as well. But yeah, he draws Nibiru for turn, and you'll see that ends up mattering a lot later. So he's gonna normal summon his Alistair, and we go for a Breakthrough skill to try and negate it. But he actually does have a copy of Eldlich Fusion in his hand, which he can use to chain to it. So it makes it that my Breakthrough skill doesn't have, or the target for my Breakthrough skill isn't on the field anymore, so it's no longer negated. So that is pretty high value for him. He gets to resolve Alistair and gets to summon out a Shaddoll monster, and I'm pretty sure he fused with Squamata right there. So yeah, the window comes out, and we're just going to be sad as he has Invocation, and he also gets to trigger his Squamata. So not a very favorable exchange for us, for sure. He goes ahead and sends, I believe, a dragon there, and we go ahead and Fiend Griefing in response to the dragon. We shove back the Alistair, so at the very least, we cut off that engine for the time being. So not feeling too badly about this. We also got to send off of this Fiend Griefing. I don't feel like Win is doing that much. Actually, if anything, locks him right now more than me. So I send Backjack instead. And then I decided to try and get more value off this Backjack right here and try and see what I can do as far as just maybe mounting interruptions or just getting plays for next turn. But again, I think I had Toriad hand as well. So I didn't really mind too much if I didn't, or if I wasn't able to resolve Scarm this turn. Like, I think that was fine. But yeah, we go ahead and stack our deck. And he has his window on the board. But next, he reveals that he has Shaddoll Fusion as well. So that's a lot of really powerful cards. I can't really do much about that. We're not playing like Ash or anything, obviously. So that's going to resolve. And that is pretty unfortunate news for us. So he goes ahead and he summons out Op Cologne. And he's like thinking on his materials for a bit. He's gonna send a Beast, and he sends Wendy here. I was kind of surprised he didn't go for Ariel, just to like banish parts of my graveyard, because that would have been pretty detrimental. And like he knew that he couldn't use the Wendy either under his window because he already used Apclone, because he didn't declare it. Like he didn't like try to. So maybe he just didn't have access to Ariel. I'm not really sure exactly, but he uses Apclone to target my Beatrice as well, which forces it. And then I go ahead and just send Scarm, even though I said like I didn't mind. And you'll notice I actually didn't chain the Backjack there, because I'm pretty sure that I also just didn't find any more traps either off of the Backjack. I was thinking about it, but I just didn't use it. So I'm pretty sure my Backjack excavations, or not excavations, but my hits for Backjack have just been pretty poor all day, but that's all right. He's going to clear my Genator, so that's like not the end of the world, obviously. It's fine. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and he's going to go ahead and pass right here. I'm thinking that that is a copy of maybe like a Schism or an L-Shell Fusion. I'm just thinking like that's another way to get into Winda. I'm pretty sure I don't actually know what that is. But here we go. So we go ahead and draw for turn. We have another Tour Guide, as I mentioned, but we also have double Breakthrough Skill Engrave. I'm pretty sure I milled one, and then I activated the other on the Alistair. So I actually have two of them, which is great because it deals with Winda very nicely right here, right? So I can just like use it, negate Winda. Even if he has another way to summon another copy of Winda, I can negate that one too, without having to commit to my battle phase. So this is actually a turn where I try and just straight up go for game right here. So we know I summon the Tour Guide. We use the effect. I'm pretty sure he waits a little bit on using his set card, or maybe he uses it right here. Yeah, he does actually use it right here. So he's going to actually flip the El Shaddoll Fusion, and it fuses away both of his fusion monsters, and then he makes another copy of Winda. And then Tour Guide resolves for a copy of Giraffe right here, and then he's going to resolve his chain, so he gets Winda and he gets Apclone. So here it adds back Shaddoll Fusion, which like further convinces me that I have to go for game. Because if I don't, then Shaddoll Fusion is just going to blow me out of the water, and I can't really do much about it. And he adds Schism there. I know it's hard to see from this camera angle, and he kind of showed it to me really quickly there. But yeah, he pitches a Wendy off of this copy of Apclone as well, which sets him a Beast. And from here, I'm pretty sure I know most of the cards. Because he added Schism off of Apclone, he added Shaddoll Fusion off of Winda, and I'm pretty sure he has 3 cards in hand. So I know everything but the one card, and if you recall back to what he top decked last turn, you'll know what that card is. So that is definitely unfortunate. But we go into Carabini here after using the second copy of Breakthrough Skill Engraved to negate the Winda, and then we go Graph to summon out Farfa, and then we go for Carabini as well. I'm pretty sure we use the effect charting itself, and it's hard to see here, but I do send a copy of a Libic right there. And then we just use Libic to summon out this copy of Seer. So here's where I point out that like if I use a Genator in the other extra monster zone, my Beatrice would be all the way to the left, so I wouldn't really have to, have this problem of like going through Libic specifically. But it was fine anyway, because I did want the Seer to use its Grave Effect anyway, so maybe it was okay. But yeah, we go for Sword, and then we use Farfa to banish the set Beast, which does stay face down banished, by the way. But yeah, we go ahead and bring Mad Dante off the Seer, and then we declare an end of main phase, and then he drops it to Biru, which he top decked last turn, which is really sad. So yeah, there goes our entire board, and he also gets an add back off the Winda. He gets to add back the El Shaddoll Fusion, I believe. And from here, I actually don't have any traps in my hand, so we do pass on this, which is obviously not good enough. Here I should have just honestly scooped. Because it was just kind of wasting time at this point. He definitely has ways to deal with this, because whether it be through Algides or just like a Link 4, it would have been like pretty good. So yeah, he has Beast. He actually pitches Shaddoll Fusion off of it, and he draws down Alistair, which I mean is pretty likely, right? He has Meltdown, Alistair that I shovel back, so he has all three of them still, plus Terraforming. So it's like 7 cards, and he's gone through a lot of his deck, and he's drawing like for turn as well as off Beast. So he has a high likelihood of seeing it, like in actuality. So it's not like that was a big surprise, but definitely was unfortunate because now he has 2 invocations, so we can go for 2 fusions. We go for Backjack here just to see what we can go for, like how we can play reactively. I guess that's why I didn't scoop yet, because I did have one more trick up my sleeve in the Backjack, which I didn't use at any point during the previous turn. But yeah, Compulse wasn't going to be good enough. So here I actually wait on using Compulse. I could have used it in response to the invocation to hit the Cross Sheep. The reason I don't is, honestly, I forgot that he... well, I didn't forget that he had a Schism in hand. They added it back, but I forgot that he could just pitch it off Hcabe to negate it. Because I'm like so used to Hcabe not negating traps, because there's just not any in hand. But yeah, I just definitely overlooked that one, because I wanted to bounce the Hcabe so that the Cross Sheep wouldn't have anything to identify to point it to. But long story short, this is what he ends on, is Boros Sword. Plus he had kept Hcabe just to try and play around Nibiru. If he had Algaides, though, it didn't matter anyways, because he would have just, Algaides popped my tokens. So he had game there in like 3 billion ways. So we'll lose that one. We're going to move on to game 2. We're going to go first again and hope that it's good enough. You could maybe make the argument that we could try and go second in this matchup, but dealing with Winda is just really, really hard to do going second with this deck. So even though we are going to play into Shaddoll Fusion, it is what it is, right? We just kind of have to deal with the situation as it comes. Because like Winda hitting the board is just basically game over if we have no answer to it, and there's not too many answers to it going second. Like even if we side in stuff like Chalice, it's not that good. Here, I actually kind of do what I was talking about in the previous match, where I actually pitched Graph for Beatrice to summon it, and I don't use Graph Effect. But like, if I were to do that, I should have just kept the Graph underneath the Beatrice and like pitched the Seer. Like I drew Rhino, Seer, Graph, which is a pretty awkward combination of cards. So yeah, I just decided to not do it. Like it was kind of an in the moment decision. Like as I had the window to use Graph, I just decided maybe I shouldn't, because like I saw Nibiru, I didn't want to play into it. But in that case, I should just special the Graph and keep it underneath the Beatrice anyways, so that's a bit of a misplay right there. Here he goes and almost summons Shaddoll Dragon, and he passes prior to me. So I'm like, I wonder why he would do that, because like the only reason you do that is you have Super Poly, right? So I'm like just trying to navigate in a way that forces it out, I guess. It was a weird situation for sure. I'm pretty sure I do the same play where I go for Backjack plus Rhino to stun Farfa, and then I like Farfa away the Dragon after this chain resolves, but obviously he's going to chain Super Poly to that, so maybe I should have just, like, I don't know, maybe sent Skarm. It was kind of a weird scenario, for sure, definitely. It was a little bit surprising he just didn't turn player priority use the Super Poly, because he definitely could have before he got the chance to use Beatrice, and that would have been very detrimental for sure, and that would have been like super punishing even that I just didn't have the Graph underneath it. Granted, it's Seer, so that's fine. Like, Seer bring back Dante is also good. But, yeah. Maybe it was worth just playing into Nibiru there as well. But, again, it's kind of hard to make that call, because like, Beatrice is so important in this deck. Just because it's not just, like, IP with Beatrice with just a Dante under it. It's Beatrice with a lot of good stuff under it. So you want to have it be alive for as long as possible. But, yeah. Chains resolve. He goes, Construct. He goes and sends one. And then I go, like, Seer and Dante. And I'm pretty sure I used Fiend Griefing there as well, because he used... I think he used Dragon to target it, and then I just shuffled a card back, and then that got me Skarm. He clears my Dante, and he sets 2. And they go ahead and resolve Skarm in the end phase for Tour Guide. So I'm thinking, like, okay, I believe I had Breakthrough Skill and Grave as well. I'm not entirely sure if I did. I have to check that back. I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that I had a way to deal with Winda, but it was going to be an uphill battle for sure, because I didn't have like a great way to deal with all the resources that he just had access to. So I go for Tour Guide into Graph. Yeah, there was a reason that he didn't flip up like any of his disruptions here, because I think he just wanted to play more reactively. You might have seen in his hand he actually had another copy of Super Poly, which is set. So he could just flip it up at any time. Like if I go for Boros Sword, he could just Super Poly it away. Right here, it's time. So he realized he had it. So I was not getting out of that one. So we actually ended the locals 2-1-1 which is actually enough for top 4, surprisingly. So that is really exciting. And here are the spoils of war right here. We got actually some prizing for the first time in this series. So yeah, let's just go ahead and crack these open. I guess we're turning into sealed only while we're at it. But yeah, this is actually our entry pack right here, OTS 16 on the left. And we'll just go through these individually. I actually had these sorted poorly, but yeah, let's start off with the OTS 16. As a reminder, anything that we pull in here, we can actually, if we can manage to move it, we can actually just count that towards the budget, which I think is pretty nice. But see, we got a Lord British Space Fighter, a Reptilian Hydra, and a Tri-Brigade Nerval for our OTS 16 pack. Then let's move into, I guess, OTS 14 and then 15. Yeah, so our locals kind of just awards packs. I'm not really sure what the distribution is, but we did end up splitting top 4, in case you all are wondering at home. But we have a Raid Raptor Singing Lanius, we have Evil Thorn, and we have Infernity General for this pack. I should put the holos here. You can tell how much I open product when I just don't instinctively sort things by rarity. But carrying on here for OTS pack 15. I actually don't know what's in the majority of these products, especially like the OTSs, because these are literally the first packs that I've opened in over a year. So that is that. But in this one, we have an Armor Factor Pain, we have Armed Dragon level 3, and we have a Zodiac Borbo. Rest in peace, Zoo. Thanks to the ban list, of course. And then we'll go for Genesis Impact next. We got 2 packs of this. So let's see what we can pull in here. So we have a Live Twin Channel, we have a World Legacy World Lance, Evil Twin GG Easy, Herald of Ultimateness, Before Mage Hat Tricker, Invoked Casitas, and an Evil Twin Lilla. I don't know if this is worth anything, but I guess I'll find out after the fact. But yeah, moving on here into the next pack. It is an ultra rare. I'm pretty sure that there were supers in here as well, so I think this is maybe worth something. I'm not sure. I do not know the values on cards. We have Bottomless Trap Hole, Drytron Gamma, another Live Twin Channel, another World Legacy World Lance. We have another Evil Twin GG Easy, Herald of Ultimateness. We're getting like the same cards. And a, what is this? Iwas the Magistus Spell Spirit. I have never seen this card. So that is that. And then finally we have 2 packs of Lightning Overdrive. So I guess we can pull a Diviner, maybe? Probably not, but we'll see what we can get here. So we have I Meet You, Yamori Mori, Springen's Brothers, Judgment of the Branded, Supreme Sovereign Serpent of Golgonda, You and I, Binary Blader, Sunvine Crossbreed, and Bujin Mahitotsu. So those are some interesting cards. I am messing up everything right here. But the final pack here is another pack of Lightning Overdrive. Can we pull anything good? Probably not, which is why I usually don't open packs in general, but we'll see. So we have an S-Force Dog Tag, 1 Curryway, a Dark Eye Nightmare, Terrors of the Underroot, Expendable Die, a Maze Attraction Rapid Racing, Basil Rose Shoot, Black Eyes The Plunder Patrol Sea Guide, and a Maze Attraction Wonder Wheel. So I don't think we pulled anything of note here. I guess I'll have to check the prices afterwards to see if these cards are even worth anything. But yeah, this is our, I guess, our lovely spoils of war, as I mentioned previously. Alright, so as a bit of an addendum, we actually did in fact manage to pull 2 cards of value, which is a little bit surprising actually. So we did pull the super rare Tri-Brigade Nerval and the ultra rare Evil Twin Lilla, whose price values you can see on the screen. And in case you guys have not seen the rules or have not read the pinned comment in that video, basically any card that's worth $5, whether it be anything that I pull from prizes or anything that I buy for this series, I can sell for 80% of its retail value basically, based on whenever I decide to do so. Just at the time of recording or editing or whatever. So yeah, that is going to be pretty good news for us because we do get to add $15 effectively almost to our budget, which does roll over on a weekly basis. So now we can actually kind of talk about saving up for some bigger purchases. Things like Masquerade are now on the table, which is cool. And who knows, maybe we can just keep saving on a weekly basis and just straight up buy a Zeus or something. But yeah, this just goes to show that if you are playing on a budget, you're not constrained necessarily only by your budget. Obviously, it is a big hindrance, but you definitely can still get at least pretty far at minimum at your local level and still pull, good prizes and just keep building towards better cards and better decks, which is really great. And that's like the whole purpose of, I guess, the series, is to show that on a budget you can still do well and you can still just add to your prize pool and just keep doing well and all that good stuff. But anyways, let's go ahead and go over the 3 key takeaways before we wrap up the video. So I think the first thing is that I do need to work on using my extra deck a bit more in terms of the toolboxing elements. There are certain cards in here, such as Virtual World Shell Jaja and Zeroboros, that definitely have had the capacity to come up, but I just chose not to summon them. Zeroboros specifically in this episode is one that comes to mind definitely. So these are cards that I definitely can be using in more situations that I just haven't been, because I'm ultimately just used to other cards. I don't normally play these cards, for example, in like Burning Abyss lists. So these are things I just have to kind of think about more and just have to spend some more time, look through my options, and kind of make the most use out of them. The second thing is that I'm still not satisfied completely with my side deck options for going second, particularly. I do want to work on that. Like, for example, there's not really many games I want to side in, like Lost Wind or Chalice. So there's a lot of spaces where I really think that I can improve in this area. And third, I think I just need to just keep working on trying to navigate my lines a little bit faster. I definitely went into time a lot still, even though I have Borosword now, so it's not really an excuse anymore. So we definitely do need to just work on playing just more intuitively and knowing what we have to react to in each situation. It's definitely a bit tougher to do when you're playing a control deck, because every matchup is like vastly different. But that being said, I do think that's a skill that is worth working on for sure, just for me as a player and for the series. So that's going to wrap things up for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, as well as any thoughts or feedback in the comments. Subscribe for more informative and competitive YGO content. If you want to, you can support me on all social media platforms or with the links in the description box below as usual. If you want to watch these episodes one day early, then definitely feel free to support me on Patreon, because those get up a day early. But until next time, I will catch you in the next video. See you guys.